Alright guys, so I am going to be modifying this Gretsch Stephen Stern Custom Shop Duo Jet in gold top with mahogany back and sides. I'm not really happy with these Seymour Duncan 2000s pickups, so I'm going to put some TV Jones Dynasonics or T-Armond pickups in this guitar. I did look at the bottom of these pickups and they are the flat type. I don't know why Seymour Duncan doesn't use this design with the, pole pieces, magnets kind of protruding through the bottom, but they're very bassy and I'm going to swap them out. I've already put a Duane Eddy Bigsby handle on here, which obviously is reversible 100%. And I put Shaler strap locks on here, which are also reversible. The pickups, same thing, reversible. I'll keep the pickups. I'll put them in the case in the center, box. That way, if I ever want to go back to stock and potentially sell this guitar, which I doubt I will ever do, I can. So just a quick look. It is Gretsch Custom Shop and Stephen Stern's signature right there. It's got nice Go Toes tuners. And there's the back of the guitar. Very nice example. One thing I didn't like when I first got this guitar was the pick guard was sticking way up. So when you were playing, this pick guard was always getting in your way in this direction. Like your fingers always would hit it. So what I ended up having to do was bending this bracket right here, just pushing it down. I took it off the guitar to do that and just kind of cinched it down and pinched it this way, and now the pick guard is out of the way. Feels more like my 6120 or my Tennessean. So anyway, we're about to loosen the strings. I'm going to pop them off the back of the Bigsby here, and that way the strings don't have to be replaced. I can just move them out of the way, and then I'll take the pick guard off with the two screws right here, or sorry, on this guitar there's only one screw and then one screw here. Pick guard will come off, and then I'll flip the guitar over and undo the back plate to get access to the pickups, and then I'll desolder them, unscrew the pickup mounts, these 4 screws on the top, and then we'll be throwing these TV Jones on there. So stay tuned. Alright, so I'm on my last string to be removed, and just wanted to kind of show you what I do is with my left hand, I grab the string and I pull it towards the rear, which gives me some slack, and then I take my other hand and I flip the ball out of the peg for the Bigsby, and it comes right out. So I'll have all these strings off here in just a second. Alright, so now with all the strings removed, I'm going to take the bridge off and just, grab it. This is a True Arc bridge. See if I can get underneath the bridge here. This one is pinned, so it's a little bit kind of stuck on there, and you can see on this particular guitar where the bridge has worn through the finish. It is silver underneath that little spot right there. And then I'll lift this Duane Eddy handle up and take the spring out. And I do put a penny underneath it just to give me a little bit of extra height. So those will stay out of the way. And we'll go ahead and get this flipped over after I take the pick guard off, which is 2 screws. Now, if you're working on guitars, I highly recommend you check out this brand right here. It is on Amazon, and it is pretty awesome. It's got a bunch of different bits, and of course you want smaller Phillips head screw driver bits so that you can get the screws out without stripping them. Or if you use a regular size screwdriver, it'll be too big to even unscrew the screws. So just a little tip. Alright, so here's what the guitar looks like without the pick guard. I think the next step is to remove these 4 pickup screws per pickup. There is a riser underneath it. It's made out of plastic. And so I'll take those out, I'll set them off to the side, and then I'll flip the guitar over, and we'll get the back plate off and desolder and swap them out. Alright, so we got the screws out of the pickups. And well, that's not what I expected. I thought I looked at these before and that they were flat on the bottom, like the T-Armond 2000s, but these have the same pull pieces. But that being said, I still don't like the tone of them, and when I did try to adjust these screws, I did not see any of the magnets move at all. So I don't know. I read online that they were not height adjustable pull pieces, and when I did try to adjust it, the pull pieces did not move. I know the TV Jones ones do, and you can actually see on this pickup that the bass side is lower. And I've had these pickups before, so I'm very familiar with TV Jones. I know what they sound like. Just not a big fan of the Seymour Duncans. So these are going to come out, and I'm going to go ahead and swap in the TV Jones. And hopefully I'll report back at the end of this video with a sound sample and won't have to use an EQ pedal like I was doing with this. My Filtertron guitars, my off-Kiltertron guitar pickups, they just sound compatible with each other, and unfortunately these Seymour Duncans are just way too bassy, and I had to buy an EQ pedal just to be able to use this guitar with the amp settings. I didn't want to have to keep changing amp settings every time I switched out guitars. I want them to have a unique characteristic of the pickups and the guitar, but I didn't want to have to wildly turn the bass down and crank up the treble just to get it to sound right. So again, already familiar with the TV Jones, so let's get them swapped in. Alright, so let's take a look at the pickups. The TV Jones pull pieces are a different construction. These actually look more like the Gretsch, maybe / vintage Dynasonics. But you can see there is a definite difference in the construction. So I just didn't like the sound of them. I guess if that was my only guitar using the Seymour Duncan pickups and I set the EQ for that guitar, I probably would like them. I mean, they didn't sound bad. They sounded great once I used the EQ pedal. But again, very familiar with TV Jones and love their pickups. So I've used these in the past on other guitars, and I decided to just swap them out because it's what I'm familiar with. Here's what the Stephen Stern Custom Shop guitar looks like on the inside. It does have gold overspray. The back or bridge pickup ring spacer is in my hand right now, so that's why it's not there. This one's kind of stuck to the body. If I pried it, I'm sure it would come off, but I'm sure this is nitrocellulose lacquer. which is why it starts to get this weird finish stuff going on, unlike a poly guitar, as well as that finish being removed underneath the bridge. Just thought I'd share. Alright guys, so the screw holes line up. So I'm going to screw this down. I like to crisscross. That way you don't get some weird pulled up or raised end on the other side. Alright, got the pickups fully installed, all screws back in. I'm going to go ahead and put the bridge back on, make sure it's nice and flat. Put the Bigsby spring back in, pop this back in there. And then what I'm going to do is reverse what I did by taking the strings off. And so what I do is I stick all these strings out of the way first, except for the low E. And I'll grab the low E, make sure I've got the low E. And then I'll run it back down to the Bigsby. And of course with two hands it's a lot easier. But what I'm going to do is just pull it, push it back onto the little studs here. Once I get them all on, I'll tighten them up using the tuning pegs, and then I can flip it over and solder the pickups in. Alright, and just like that, you just wrap them back around the pole pieces, tune them back up. Of course, I need to put it on a tuner. I just tightened them so there is at least some tension on them. So let's go ahead and get this flipped over and solder these bad boys back in there. Alright, just so everybody knows, at least on the T-Armond pickups, at least my set, double check yours before you install them. My bridge pickup has the black lead wire, and this white wire right here is the hot, and the black wire is the ground. It also has the shielding attached to it. And the neck pickup is the gray lead, same thing. White wire is the hot, and the black has the shielding that goes to the back of the pot. So all I'm going to do is solder the white lead to that center post on the pot, and the black one is going to go to the back of the pot with the shielding. Pretty simple. So I'm going to go ahead and get those soldered up off camera because it's too hard to hold the camera and solder at the same time. It's actually almost impossible without two people. Thanks. Alright, got the pickups all soldered back up. I made new solder points on the back of the pots just so they're clean. And I did notice that the little Gretsch tag is kind of coming loose, so might need to put some glue behind that, but other than that, go ahead and get this back plate screwed back in and tune it up, see how it sounds. Alright, so did seem to get rid of that ultra bassiness that the Seymour Duncans had, and I'll give you a little sound demo. This is the middle position. Bridge pickup. Neck pickup. anyway, just my final thoughts. Love the TV Jones pickups a lot more than the Seymour Duncans compared to my other guitars. That doesn't mean that the Seymour Duncans are bad. They are great pickups, just not suitable to be used with the same amp settings as my other Gretsch guitars or my Jazzmasters. I will say they're high build quality on the Seymour Duncans, as well as TV Jones, obviously. Tom does an amazing job with his manufacturing and quality control. The only other thing I would say is this Stephen Stern guitar is very nice. And if you get a chance to ever pick one up, definitely do so. And the Dwayne Eddy handle, the reason I swapped them out on this guitar and my Rosewood Tenny, the 6119, is because it doesn't have flex between the handle and the arm itself that pushes down on the spring. If you ever pick up a Bigsby, if the spring isn't tight, you will have some play in there, and it's not as responsive as soon as you press down on the arm itself. And these Dwayne Eddy handles, they're a little wider, a little thicker, a little flatter, and it does not flex at all in between this part of the Bigsby where that little washer's at. So definitely check them out. If you have a Bigsby and you feel it's a little sloppy, go ahead and swap that out. I don't have that problem with my Brian Setzer 6120. I don't know if they did something different, tightened it differently, I'm not sure, but that's the reason I swapped out the handle. So now I can play this guitar, love it and enjoy it the way I want it to sound. Thanks Stephen Stern for building the vibe, the shell, the look, the feel, everything about it's amazing. Just wasn't super happy for my own personal preference with the sound of those pickups that came with it. But I will be keeping them and throw them in the case, so in case anybody ever does stumble across this guitar for sale, or ends up getting it through inheritance, they can swap it back to completely original, as well as the Bigsby handle, and they can put regular Gretsch strap locks back on there. I just prefer the Shaler strap locks so that I can use one or two straps on multiple guitars, and they're very secure and never fall off. So anyway, guys, thanks for checking out the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.